Okay, this is Angela with Creatively Done, and today I'm going to be using little mini panels and split cups with handles that Ken has been creating and we're testing. So they kind of look rough. Don't worry, the finished products will be a lot nicer. But I want to see how this lip changes the way a split cup pour looks. On here, this is the original type of cup that everyone's used to seeing. And if you can tell, it's two panels, two sides. But we created a handle for those of us like these old hands here that can't really hold a cup and pour at the same time. So what I'm going to do, this is a 2, these are 3, and you can see there's different types of spouts to see how they work. And this one is kind of a fancy schmancy. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. If you can see my fingers disappearing in there. And it also has a retrofit handle. The cup designs are 3D printed using, I'll have to get the exact PLA, I believe it's called. And there's another bigger one in the background. If I could reach for it with my fancy tongs here, hold on. You can see it here. This one is for a much larger canvas. My purpose today is not to make the most gorgeous paintings in the world. That's why I'm using just the panels. It's to see how the paint comes out of each one of the cups. And I'm going to try to do more than one. As you can tell, I have 3 panels here. And this rotates. This is on a little Lazy Susan. Instead, it's Lazy Angela, but that's okay. And we'll start off with one that, as you can see, has a modified design here where the colors will come out and not too much of a spout. Then we have one, let's move these around so they kind of go in order. And you'll see that this one has, I tried using it before, as you could tell, it has some red in it. And like I said, these things will hold color, but it doesn't really matter, it's not going to come off. And this one has 3 panels, or 3 sections, and a different pour spout. Now this one has a much bigger one. And as we go on, I'm going to try to pick colors that so we can see how the cup is working. My technique for doing this is marginal, but that's not my goal today. So I'm trying to think of colors that would look where you can see it pretty easy. So I have 2 blue, I have white, and then perhaps gold. And not the most expensive paints, not sure what direction I should go in, blue in the center or whatever. So I'm just going to put a little bit of blue in the center, and hopefully it's not too, doesn't have too much schmutz in it. Let me make sure I'm getting some paint in there. And let me get out a little bit more. Oh, I got a nice, I didn't screen these paints, so we might have a little bit. But again, all I'm doing is trying to test the cup. So I'm going to be as quick as I can here without letting my OCD kick in here. But get a little bit of blue in the center, and that's a 3 section, has 3 sections. I'm going to take this up just a little bit. Oh boy, I got all kinds of stuff growing on these containers. It's been a while since I painted. I have other things that I had to take care of, and I hope everybody else as well. But we're going to put these, I'm going to put some paint in this cup, and I don't know if you can see me putting it in there. I'm going to put about the same amount. I'm not really putting that much paint in here because these are tiny, tiny little canvases. And then I'll put white on the other end, and this was mixed up with a little bit of Floetrol, a little bit of GAC. And so now we're going to see how that's going to work. Now I'll show you how the colors are in here, and then we'll do one. So if you can see, we've got the gold, the blue, and the white. Now what I'm really trying to see is how the paint comes off the cup and goes onto the canvas. If it drips down the front, it defeats the whole purpose of having a split cup. This design here is so that the colors don't melt too much, but I'm going to go in the center and see I'm getting too much blue, and that seems to be all I'm getting. Here comes the white. I don't have any of the gold. There we go. And I'm just going to hold it in the center. And I'm going to stop. Now, those of you who want to do a big canvas, of course you would use more paint, but depending on how you're looking at it, you can see we don't have a lot of paint on the front of the cup, but we did get a fair amount of coverage of the blue. Now, I don't want to really stretch this too much because I really want to have a comparison for the other cups. So we're going to set this one to the side, and we'll go on to the next cup. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that back and that back, and try not to spill it. I'm going to put the white in the center of this cup. I'm going to put white in the center and see if that helps. And then I'm going to put blue. I have another container of blue. Maybe it doesn't have quite as much dried stuff in it, but looks like that's not going to be the case no matter what I do. So here's the thing, guys. When you're trying to do a test like this, it's probably better if I just use black and white, because I have those nice, and I just wanted to show some kind of difference so you could see the colors coming out. And oh, that really didn't work very well, did it? Okay, let me wipe that off. Good, I'll have a blue cup. Hallelujah. And get up that real quick. Grab some more paper towels that I forgot to get out, but I always have a bunch right here. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to put a third color in, so maybe I'll put silver on this one. Turn this around, you can still see, right, good. And it's pretty level on this table, so hopefully it won't, hopefully the colors won't go flying off. Let's see how this one works. Oh, this is a little thicker, but I'm trying to get some paint in there, about the same amount, because I'll use it on another canvas. I just didn't want to waste too much paint. And now you can see in this messy cup we have blue, white, and the silver. And what I'm going to do now is I want to see how it comes off the front, how long it takes to mix. You can see the white came off first. I don't have any of the silver coming out. So I am doing my own. Here comes the silver now. This may not be too bad, but it's a lot of color. But you can see the colors are coming off pretty straight. So that's a good thing. Now, before I mess this up and make it go all over the table, which I don't want it to do, I'm not too crazy about this one, but like I said, I'll probably just scrape these canvases anyway. So we'll set this one to the side, and then we're going to go on to the next one. Since this is a bigger cup, I'm going to use black, white, and I wish I had red because that's my favorite. I'll use black, white, and blue and see how that works. Actually, you can't even hardly see the gold in that one there, but maybe I'll use black, white, and gold instead of the blue. And keep the white in the center this time. Good squirt in there. I'm gonna have all kinds of paint left over in these cups. Not the best idea, but you know, what the heck. I gotta try this myself. And the paints really should be about the same consistency. And I didn't make them all at the same time, but Oh boy, I see a big hairball coming out here. It's not a hairball, but it's a paintball. Okay, so let's see if we can have the same amount of paint. And it is real important too when you're holding. See, holding a cup, see how you're able to hold it. Holding the cup makes it easier, and since this one's going to slide off, I might just put this off the table so it doesn't, off the Lazy Susan, so it doesn't go careening all over the place. And just keep it right there. A lot of paint on that, but it doesn't matter. Okay, now if you can still see it, and you can, good. You sit down again. Had a long day today, and it was a good day, but just rather sit down if I can. And I can, so I'm gonna. These are just little pop tops that I'm keeping the canvas off. Now, the important thing, and I keep forgetting, is to keep the cup level. You see that white wants to run out first. Here comes the gold. Let's see what kind of oh, this is a pretty good effect. Oh, I'm liking this one. I'm going to try to keep it to the center. And I'm going to stop. And it's when you stop that you get that bleed over. Okay. Now, I'm going to take this one and I'm just going to stretch it a little bit. And if you can see me stretching it, and you can, that's good. But you can see that the colors on the actual cup itself, better not do that, came out pretty even. So this is what we're looking for. How the colors come out of the cup before we create them and sand them and all this other stuff. So we make sure that we're not getting a lot of spillover, or where it just goes over the front of the cup. Like, let me show you this one here. See, without this, without a pour spout, the paint will go over the front of the cup itself. The reason for the pour spout is so that you have more control over the paint as you're pouring it. I don't have any paint in that one, but we do have paint in this one. Now what I'm going to do again, since we've got the paint flowing, I'm going to try to get more of the paint out. Here comes that white first. But you see them running out together? And that's making a much different look. Just giving it a kind of an angel wing thing, and get that off. These have to really be cleaned up. They're not sanded and all that. It's just a quick, these were quick prints so I could see how they work before we spend a lot of time. It does take a while to print these things. Everyone wonders why they cost so much. It's not really the product that you're using, and you're doing each one individually, but it takes hours and hours for them to print. So it's a custom-made product, but it's unique. See, like these that have the built-in spout and handle are one piece, and they're solid. And if you can't see it, I will show you that again. But the ones that don't have a handle are just harder for me to hold. Yes, my hand is big enough, but it doesn't provide me with enough leverage. Now this one that has, it looks like it doesn't fit. It won't come off the top, so you don't have to worry about your pouring and all of a sudden you get a big dump of paint. That usually happens from my pour cups here. I mean from my containers. But it does give you that control that you need. See, here's the other ones. Now, even though they're rough, the one that we did first, which was this one, if I pour a little bit more paint in, I'm going to pour some more paint in here, you're going to see the paint coming off. And where's the gold? Here comes the gold. So there you go. Now that's going to look cute anyway. It's going to look kind of like a snowman. And I'm going to try to grab a hold of it. There we go. And I should do that with the paper towel instead of my glove, but it's okay. and it's not really coming over the front. Yep, there's a little bit of glue here. I tried to fix this one because I was more interested in the design. So this is what you're getting from that design. Try not to stretch it too much so it doesn't run off. These little canvases are great. Everyone says that they don't like them because they warp, but they're really good for testing stuff because you can get a whole bunch of them. As a matter of fact, in this one pack that I have here today, it says I got 5 canvases, but I really got 6. How about that? So it's like an extra little goodie. Now here, see, this is where you could use the turntable. I'm using it so that I don't have to stand over my paintings. But I'm going to try to stretch this just a little bit to give it a little more interest without it going over the edge. So same thing here. I'm going to do this one just a little bit more. And like all of the masters would say on this, go slow and steady and go back to the center, and your paint will fill up the canvas more, but it won't, you have more control over it. I've also had people that have made comments, oh, you're just throwing paint on a canvas, you know, no, I know how to paint regular, if you will, and with a paintbrush. I got thousands of them around here. This is not just throwing paint. It's so much easier to paint with a paintbrush. It's kind of like controlling the wind. Okay, so now even this one that I have here, if I can do it without getting too much of my fingers all over it, this one has a lot more paint on it, and it just looks, it doesn't look like a ring pour or a split cup, if you will, but it has some good definition to it, and I know it's going to go over the edge there because the white is already close to the edge, and I'm over another painting. These are things you don't want to do. I should really do a couple of videos on what not to do when you're trying to do this. And one of the things is don't do one painting over another. But, so we tried 3 cups. This one seems to have worked quite well. Didn't waste a lot of paint out of the top. You can see how it's coming out. If you can hold your hands steady, you've got better control over it because they all seem to come out, but it gives you a wider range of, instead of it being a thin, tiny little spout. Now, I should really try to do, I've got a couple more, but I don't want, and I don't like to waste paint. So I'll probably get one big painting that I have over here. I have an actual circles canvas, and it's also a panel. So I'm going to set these others to the side, and then I'm going to take the paint that was left over from each of the cups, and we're just going to make, oh, that one's going to fall over, I think. That one's going to go over the edge. Hopefully it won't. It's threatening right now, and this, my little snowman here, I'm going to try to set that off. My table's really level, so I usually don't have to worry about that. But this is going to be interesting. I hate to sacrifice a round canvas, but let me move some of the little things out so it supports it evenly. And again, if you want to test your level, get a level. Just one of these little guys will do, and I usually put it right in the center, and it's spot on. And I put it to the side, and it's spot on. And I've tested this before. That's one of the keys to getting a good painting, is to have your surface level. Now, since I have just leftover paint, I'm just going to try to, oh, good, it's running together. I'm going to pull it up. This one gives too much of a ribbon. Most people won't like that. They're trying to do a ring pour or whatever. I'm just trying to use the paint. Let the paint all come out. And I'm going to go sideways so I get some interest. And this is called just using your paints instead of letting them dry in a cup. And that's all. I don't know how much of this you can see, but I'm going to try to just get the paints out of the cup instead of keeping it in there. And maybe I'll do a swipe with this one. Maybe I'll just swipe all this, because all of this paint it's a shame to let it go to waste. And usually the ones like this that you think won't look like anything end up looking the prettiest, because you're trying to you're not trying at all. Sometimes that's the best. So I'm going to just keep dabbing it and see if I can encourage the paint to come out. And maybe we'll get an interesting Halloween one, since that's what we got going on here. Okay, now that's about all the paint I could probably coax up. I like these colors, so this won't be a difficult choice for me. And you can see that there's a little bit of paint left in the cup, but not very much. And if you want to be patient and you want to keep holding it, if you can see where I'm putting the paint or the cup to get as much paint out as you can, that's fine too. I'm just now, this is truly abstract because I can see the three colors. I can try to model it together, just muddle without making mud, and I'll set it aside. Let me see what I get out of this one here. I don't think there's too much left in this one. But what I'll do is I'll turn my canvas, and you'll see paint running out. I hope you see it on the camera. And now what I'm going to do is do a little bit of a wiggle here. Doesn't matter if the paints are touching, because when I tilt it, they're going to move. So now you can do a ribbon effect. Hey, we'll create something new here. I'll create the ribbon effect, right? And it's hard for me to hold my hand up. I am not afraid to admit that I don't have 20-year-old arms, but I certainly enjoy doing stuff like this. And all I'm trying to do is use the Lazy Susan, hold my arm up, hopefully above the painting where you could see it, because I'm watching what I'm doing down below, and get some of this paint to kind of come off the cup without wasting it. I mean, why would we want to waste paint? So I'm just going to hold this here, let the paint run off, and not have it be anything except a true save the environment. Don't throw it down the tubes or whatever. I don't put any of my paint down the sink anyway. I let it dry, and actually this looks really pretty just the way it is. So as the paint, I'm going to tilt it a little bit more and get as much of this paint out as I can. And you see there's not very much left in there. So, and then this one has gold, blue, and white. And I actually might add just a little bit more white so I have something for it to run with. And the white is probably looser than most of the other paints, which is probably what the problem is. I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to go from here, and what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to let it cascade off. So it's going to run down, and the colors oh boy, there was a big sneeze of color there, but hopefully, actually this looks more like angel wings. This is more what everybody's used to seeing when they see these splits. So I'm going to hold it up a little bit, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Oh, some of this paint, did you see that bubble just fall off there? That big glob of paint? Wasn't that interesting? And there's probably going to be another glob, I could just tell. Yep, there we go. Just tell by how the paint's flowing off. And I don't want that paint to get too close to the other edge, so I'm going to slow it down a little bit. Get some of the paint out, the rest of the paint out on this end. And stop. I got about as much as I can. Now, I don't want to go back in the cup, so let me stop there. And now we've got, what do we have here? We just have colors on a nice round canvas. And rather than No, this one. This has too much kind of schmutzy stuff in it, so. Mix your paints. Get used to mixing your paints where they're similar consistencies. You won't have the problem I'm having right now. Please remember, this was just to test how these cups pour off paint. And I'm not too disappointed in the way that they did, actually. I'm really not. But you see that big, oh, see? Now that was caused by me. That wasn't caused by the cup. So this blue that's here was my fault. Now, on this one, I'll just do this real quick. And we could spin this, make it kind of go a little bit. The paint's pretty thick. So I'm going to stretch again. You can see the paints that are looser, how much easier they spread. Oops, I don't want to go over the edge. And hopefully my fingers aren't dirty so I don't mess up too much. I kind of like that. It's going to look more like sometimes it's hard to talk when you're doing this because you're watching 5 things and you don't want to say anything super stupid. But the stupid thing that I have is I have a pair of tweezers and I'm going to take out the piece that I know is not going to look very nice when it's dry. You can usually tell just by the size of the painting, the size of the paint on the painting, how level it is, how level it isn't. And as you can see, we don't have any real paint up on this end. But you know, I have a thing I like negative space on a painting. But if you wanted to keep moving this, keep moving it so that it covers as much of the, it's going to go over. This is going to go over in about 2 seconds. So I'm going to come back this way. I do like gold, white, and black. Oh, almost. I caught it. And see the other ones. This kind of looks kind of like a river or something, doesn't it? Now, I'm a little disappointed I don't have any color here. I wonder which one has enough paint. None of them. None of them. Maybe this would. No, it's not going to. And I'm going to waste more paint trying to use the paint. So I don't know how to fix this here very easily because I don't want it to run over the sides. And the other thing that I forgot to do, and I'm going to do it real quick, I have my torch. And you can see all the little air bubbles that are coming up. Let me see if I can torch these. And these little air bubbles, I don't mind. You're not cooking the paint, so do it quick. But this might end up looking okay. Turn off your torch, set it aside away from your paints, yada, yada, yada. Don't put the place on fire. Always have a fire extinguisher. Always be safe because this is safe paint, but it's flammable. And you don't want to do that. Now let me get some of these in here so I can set this back here. And since this is level, my paint's not going to run off. So it's going to be there. It's going to look like this. The more I try to move it, the more it's going to want to go over the edge of the painting. And I don't want it to do that. I think I am going to torch just a little bit more on this one here. Oh, I've never had anything catch on fire, but my fire extinguisher is right behind my shoulder here. And it's not that far away, believe me, but you should always have it close by your station. And hopefully you can see what I've done. Hopefully you can see the little guys on the side. If you can't, I'll pull those a little closer. See, this one is, that white's going to go over the edge if I keep moving it, so I'm going to try not to do that. The blue's almost at the edge. I'd rather have them just like that. This one, the black and gold, could stretch that one just a little bit more without it running off the edge. But you got to watch what you're doing. I'm doing it over another painting. Remember I told you don't do that? Because if your paint runs off, guess where it's going? It's going on the painting right underneath you where you are. And although this one's just a do whatever you can with it, see, nothing has gone off the edge. That in itself is miraculous, actually. Whoops, almost. And I'm doing it over the painting again. So here, guys, don't do what I do. There's lots of people that know, and don't dip your finger in the painting that you're trying to work over. So set it to the side. Here's another thing. Get it all over your arm, because I'm part acrylic now. That's what I say. Angela, acrylic. But again, this will, and if I don't ruin my phone, we'll call this a day. We'll say that these cups worked rather well. Don't get paint on the outside, because then it looks terrible. But that one had a pretty good pour. This one had more of a ribbon effect, as you can tell over here. And I'm probably, I keep wanting to steal some more paint out of these, but it's not going to happen. And that's only going to ruin that up there. So I might just add a little bit of blue and white. But this kind of looks different. And that's sometimes what you want. You don't want everything to look the same as everybody else's, and everything goes off the side, and you know, that has a fantastic look to it too. But if it does start going off the side though, I'll say one more thing before it does. You need to wipe immediately. These will take longer to dry because there's more paint on it, but it will dry. Especially in Florida, which is where we are. It's the coolest days we've had in, I can't remember, maybe a couple months or so. And it went from 98 yesterday to 73 today. So woohoo, we're having a ball. Okay, well, hopefully I recorded some of it. And we're done. Good talking to you. See you again soon. This is Angela with Creatively Done.